The West was wild. The West was dangerous, but above all, the West was creepy. For this list, we'll be ranking the most interesting, intriguing, or otherwise creepy unsolved mysteries from the wild, Wild West. Our countdown includes the body curse, Henry Plummer's gold, Butch Cassidy makes it out alive, and more. Number 1. The body curse. Today, Body is a historic California national park, but it's also a ghost town, a creepy relic from the bygone days of the gold rush. As such, it tends to be pretty tempting for those who want to take a piece of history with them for the road. To prevent vandalism, the staff who patrol and maintain the park invented the idea of a curse that would bring bad luck upon anyone who took items from Bodie. The only thing is, it worked. The parks and recreation staff receive apology letters almost daily from people convinced they are suffering various ailments after stealing slices of Bodie history. Is it true? Well, we're not going to tempt fate and find out. Number 2, Tom Horn and Willie Nickel. Death is always a tragedy, even in the Old West. But did Tom Horn really shoot 14-year-old Willie Nickel? Or did he take the fall for someone else? One thing's for sure, Horn shot a lot of people and was hired to root out cattle rustlers by any means necessary. But while there were witnesses who swore that the unapologetically violent Horn couldn't have committed the deed, the hired gunman ultimately hung for the crime regardless. Some historians claim that local citizens were tired of Horn hanging around and decided to frame him, while others believe that the gunslinger mistakenly thought Willie Nickel was actually his adult father, since Horn usually shot his victims from hundreds of yards out. We'll probably never know the truth. Number 3. Lost ships of the desert. There are a number of folktales that describe mysterious vessels having run aground in strange places, such as the Colorado Desert. One of these involves a Spanish galleon that's buried under what's now known as the Salton Sea. There's also a ship said to have belonged to the explorer Juan de Turbay, who, after becoming landlocked, escaped on foot and left a fortune in black pearls behind for future adventurers. There are even stories of a Viking longboat showing up in the Mexican Badlands, although some historians chalk this one up to wild stories concocted by imaginative prospectors. Number 4. Where is Cochise? Cochise was chief of the Chokonen band of the Chiricahua Apache. An iconic leader in the Apache Wars, which took place roughly between 1849 and 1886, Cochise has many famous stories to his name. As to how his story ends, however, there remains much mystery. No one knows the location of his grave. It is known that Cochise died of natural causes in 1874, and that he's buried somewhere in Arizona's Dragoon Mountains. His people knew the exact location, as did Cochise's friend and peace broker Tom Jeffords, but no one was telling at the time. Today, there's no one alive that knows where Cochise lays in rest. It is an enduring mystery. Number 5. Did Bill Longley cheat death? There was more than one Wild Bill out there in the Old West. Enter Wild Bill Longley, an infamous gunfighter who was tried and hung for the murder of his childhood friend Wilson Anderson. Or was he? Well, actually, he was, as DNA evidence obtained from an exhumation in 2000 by the Smithsonian proved. However, for years there were reports that it was actually a family relative of Bill's that lay in that grave. So, is that DNA evidence of a body swap, or is the discovery of a Catholic medallion reportedly worn by Longley on that fateful day irrefutable proof that Wild Bill bit the bullet? The debate continues. Number 6. Henry Plummer's gold. Henry Plummer was playing both sides and getting away with it. He was an elected sheriff for Bannock, Montana, while at the same time leading a group of outlaws known as the Innocents on raids, robberies, and shootings. Time eventually caught up to Plummer and his cohorts, however, with many being tried and hanged for their crimes. Others were taken out by vigilante posses in the area, while Plummer himself was hanged on January 10, 1864. He was said to have left behind a stash of gold to support his wife, but if she knew where it was, she wasn't telling. Furthermore, Plummer was actually given a trial after his hanging, and that gold could still be out there. Number 7. Jean-Baptiste. There's something truly reprehensible about robbing the dead. If Jean-Baptiste held any qualms about it, he hid them pretty well. Baptiste was a grave digger who moonlighted as a grave robber. That is, until he was caught. He was exiled to a small island in Utah's Great Salt Lake and left to rot. 3 weeks later, officials came to check on him, but Baptiste was nowhere to be found. Parts of a small shack were torn down, presumably to build a makeshift raft, while a cow was also found skinned. Again, presumably to make leather. Jean-Baptiste was never found. Not even the skeletal remains found near the island could be linked to the criminal, because these remains had a ball and chain attached to the leg, and Baptiste did not. Number 8. Butch Cassidy makes it out alive. Movie fans remember the classic ending sequence to 1969's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, where the infamous outlaws go out in a hail of bullets against the Bolivian army. But did Butch actually make it out alive? Many people were later quoted on their reported run-ins with Cassidy years after his reported death, with one report claiming that Butch had reconstructive surgery performed in Paris. Others say that Cassidy returned to see family in Utah, while others still counter this by saying no one ever saw him arrive back home. Even DNA evidence acquired from a reported burial site under an area known as Tom's Cabin didn't prove enough to confirm that it was indeed Butch Cassidy. And so the legend lives on. Number 9. Billy the Kid lives? Did Sheriff Pat Garrett really kill Billy the Kid? Some say no, that Garrett actually helped the kid, born Henry McCarty, also known as William Henry Bonney, to escape. This flies against the coroner's jury reports that the body they examined was indeed McCarty. But hey, it sort of makes sense what with Billy's legend being what it was. Specifically, there was a man named Brushy Bill Roberts who came forward in 1948 seeking a pardon for Billy the Kid's crimes. There was also the family of John Miller, who went so far as to have DNA examined in an inconclusive attempt to link Miller to McCarty. If the kid did make it out alive, he sure did a great job at keeping quiet.